When people think about the highest mountains on Earth, they think of Everest. One shared idea of what the top of the world looks like, but Everest is just one mountain on just one continent. There are 7 continents, and each one has its own highest point. Normally, climbing even one of these mountains can take weeks, sometimes months. Today, we're going to climb all 7 in just a few minutes. We're going to fly in close and show you the slopes, the terrain, the deadliest sections, and the moments where things didn't go as planned. And as we move from one mountain to the next, you might notice something strange. One of these peaks completely breaks the way we think about height and what highest actually means. We'll get to that mountain soon, but first, let's start where most people do. Let's start with Everest. Mount Everest, Sagarmatha in Nepali, Chomolungma in Tibetan. At 8,849 meters above sea level, it is, without question, the tallest mountain on Earth when measured from sea level. Zooming in now, you're looking at the South Col route, the most commonly climbed path to the summit. And right here, this chaotic, broken section of ice just above base camp. This is the Khumbu Icefall. Picture this. Ice blocks the size of houses, some suspended, some leaning, all of them moving about 1 meter per day. Ladders bolted across crevasses, fixed ropes guiding you through, and you can't control when a serac collapses. If you're climbing from the south side, you cross this multiple times, on the way up, on the way back down, and every single time you're rolling the dice. But let's say you make it through. You push higher. Camp 1, Camp 2, Camp 3, you're now above 7,000 meters. This is where the mind starts to fracture. Climbers call it the death zone. Above 8,000 meters, the human body is dying. Your brain swells. You start seeing things that aren't there. In 1996, a climber named Beck Weathers, a pathologist from Texas, was left for dead near the South Col after a storm rolled in. He was snowblind, hypothermic, and alone. But 12 hours later, Weathers stood up. He stumbled back into camp, suffering from severe frostbite and what should have been fatal exposure. He later wrote about it in his memoir, Left for Dead. His body moving on autopilot, survival instinct overriding everything else. That moment where something deeper than logic takes over. It happens more than people realize. But Everest isn't the deadliest mountain, not by percentage. It's just the most famous. So let's move south. Aconcagua. At 6,961 meters, it's the tallest mountain in South America, and the tallest outside of Asia. It sits in the Andes, right along the Argentina-Chile border, and most people think it's an easy climb. It's not. From above, you can see the standard route, the normal route, a long grinding slog through scree and loose rock. No technical climbing, just walking at altitude, and that's the problem. The mountain sits where the jet stream dips lower than it does over Everest. That means wind, constant, relentless wind, and the temperature swings are brutal. You can start the day at minus 10 degrees Celsius and end it at minus 35 degrees Celsius. In January 2009, 5 climbers died on Aconcagua in separate incidents, an unusually high number for a single month. One of those deaths involved Federico Campanini, a 31-year-old certified mountain guide, and Elena Sinin, a 38-year-old Italian climber. They were caught in a blizzard near the summit. Sinin fell into a crevasse and was killed. Campanini worked to free her, but collapsed from altitude-related complications after 2 days trapped in the storm. Looking straight down at the Polish glacier now, a steep, icy couloir that offers a more direct route to the summit. It's faster. It's also where climbers push too hard, too fast. The gradient is relentless, and at that altitude, every step feels like 3. This is the kind of slow poison that doesn't announce itself, and by the time climbers realize something's wrong, they're often too high to descend safely on their own. Aconcagua doesn't announce its danger, it just waits. But the next mountain doesn't hide anything. Denali. At 6,190 meters, it's the tallest mountain in North America, and it is absolutely brutal. Here's what makes Denali different. It's the latitude. Denali sits at 63 degrees north, only about 300 kilometers south of the Arctic Circle. The air pressure at the summit is lower than it would be at the same altitude closer to the equator. Physiologically, climbing Denali at 6,190 meters feels more like climbing to 6,500 or even 6,700 meters in the Himalayas. And then there's the cold. From above, you can see the West Buttress route. Temperatures regularly drop to minus 40 degrees Celsius. Wind chill can push it down to minus 60 degrees Celsius or lower. At minus 40 degrees Celsius, metal snaps like dry wood and fuel turns to gel. Exposed skin freezes in under 2 minutes. From 1903 through 2006, 96 people died on Denali. The fatality rate, about 3 per 1,000 summit attempts, makes it more dangerous than Everest by percentage. And 1992 was the deadliest year on record. That year, 11 Korean climbers were involved in accidents on the mountain. 3 died in a fall, 8 others had to be rescued. The combination of extreme cold, high winds, and inadequate preparation created conditions that were simply not survivable. But the most dangerous part of Denali is a couloir high on the mountain called the Messner Couloir. Named after Reinhold Messner, the legendary Italian mountaineer, it's a steep, icy gully that offers a more direct route to the summit. It's also a natural chute for avalanches and rockfall and anything else gravity decides to pull down. A fall here can send a climber tumbling hundreds of meters through ice and rock. Rescue operations are notoriously difficult. The terrain is steep, the weather unpredictable, and help can take 18 hours or more to arrive. Imagine standing here, the moment when you realize you're hurt, you're alone, and the mountain doesn't care. That's the psychological weight of Denali. It's not just the cold, it's the isolation. The knowledge that if something goes wrong, help is days away. And that weight doesn't go away when you get back down. But there's a place where that weight is absolute. Vinson Massif. At 4,892 meters, it's the tallest mountain in Antarctica. And it is one of the most remote places on Earth. Looking straight down, you're seeing the Ellsworth Mountains, a jagged, frozen range in the heart of the continent. Vinson sits right in the middle, and to even get there, you need to fly from the southern tip of Chile to a base camp on the Antarctic ice sheet. That flight alone costs tens of thousands of dollars. Once you're there, you're on your own. The standard route is a straightforward snow and ice climb, but the environment is unforgiving. Temperatures hover around minus 30 degrees Celsius to minus 40 degrees Celsius. The wind is constant, and because Antarctica sits at the bottom of the world, the air pressure is lower than you'd expect at the same altitude elsewhere. But the real challenge is the isolation. You hear nothing out here, no birds, no running water, just wind and your own breathing. If something goes wrong, you wait and you hope. In documented cases, climbers have waited 3 to 4 days for evacuation after serious injuries, broken bones, frostbite, altitude sickness. During those days, they're alone on the mountain, conserving body heat, rationing supplies, wondering if the plane will make it in time. That isolation, it's what separates Antarctica from the other continents. You're not just climbing a mountain, you're stepping into a void where human systems don't exist. Now let's move to a mountain that looks nothing like the others. Mount Elbrus. At 5,642 meters, it's the tallest mountain in Europe, assuming you count the Caucasus Mountains as part of Europe, which most geographers do. It sits in southern Russia, near the border with Georgia, and like Aconcagua, most people think it's easy. From above, you can see the standard route. A long, steady climb up a glacier. No technical climbing, just walking. But at 5,600 meters, you're high enough for altitude sickness to hit hard. And you're far enough north that temperatures drop fast. Multiple climbers have died on Elbrus from hypothermia after becoming disoriented in whiteout conditions. When a storm moves in, visibility drops to 0 in minutes. Climbers wander off route, sometimes just hundreds of meters from camp, and succumb to hypothermia before rescue teams can locate them. Climbers have died just 50 meters off route, close enough to see camp lights, but too lost to reach them. It's the false sense of safety that makes Elbrus dangerous. You think you know where you are, and then you don't. Guides on Elbrus have described having to physically support clients down the mountain, clients who are so oxygen-starved that they don't remember the descent at all. Entire hours gone from their memory, just blank space where critical decisions were made for them. You're not always in control of your own mind. And sometimes the mountain makes decisions for you. But now we're leaving ice and snow behind. Here's where things get interesting. When people talk about the 7 summits, the tallest mountain on each continent, there's a debate about Oceania. Most lists include Mount Kosciuszko in Australia. At 2,228 meters, it's the tallest mountain on the Australian mainland. It's a walk-up. No technical climbing, no danger. You can summit it in a day. But geographically, Oceania includes more than just Australia. It includes Indonesia's western half of New Guinea, and on that island sits Carstensz Pyramid, also known as Puncak Jaya, at 4,884 meters. This is the mountain most serious climbers count as the true 7 summit for Oceania. And it is nothing like Kosciuszko. As the camera moves through dense jungle now, you're seeing the approach. Days of trekking through tropical rainforest, then pulling back, the limestone face appears, zooming in on the rock now, jagged, loose, soaking wet most of the time. Picture standing here, a sheer vertical wall rising out of the jungle. The climb is technical. Vertical rock climbing at altitude in unpredictable weather with almost no room for error. The summit ridge is a knife edge of crumbling limestone. Handholds break without warning. The rock is slick from rain and mist. And because the mountain sits in a politically unstable region, permits are expensive, hard to get, and sometimes require armed escorts through the jungle. Climbers who've summited Carstensz describe the mental strain as constant. Every move feels like it could be the last. Every handhold is a gamble. And if something goes wrong, there's no rescue infrastructure. You're hours from help, sometimes days. The combination of technical difficulty, political instability, and complete isolation makes Carstensz one of the most challenging of the 7 summits, despite being nowhere near the tallest. But let's move to a continent that's a little more accessible. Mount Kilimanjaro, at 5,895 meters, it's the tallest mountain in Africa. It's also one of the most climbed mountains in the world. You don't need ropes, you don't need crampons, you just walk. For 5 to 7 days, you walk up a gradually steepening trail until you reach the summit. A frozen, wind-swept plateau called Uhuru Peak. Looking down, you can see the Machame route, one of the most popular paths. You're looking at rainforest at the base, then moorland, then alpine desert, then glaciers near the top. It's like walking through multiple climates in a single week. But here's the thing most people don't realize. Kilimanjaro has one of the highest failure rates of any major mountain. Not because it's dangerous, but because of altitude sickness. Climbers push too fast, they don't acclimatize. And by now, you've seen this pattern before. By the time they reach 5,500 meters, their bodies are shutting down. Every season, guides on Kilimanjaro turn climbers around just meters from the summit. Climbers who are confused, stumbling, unable to walk in a straight line. Climbers who insist they can make it, who've come all this way, who just need a few more steps. And the guides say no, because they've seen what happens when you don't turn around. That mental strain, that desperation to reach the top even when your body is failing. It's what defines Kilimanjaro for most climbers. It's not the mountain that stops you, it's yourself. But now, here's the twist. The thing you've been waiting for. What if I told you, Everest isn't actually the highest point on Earth? Mount Everest is the tallest mountain on Earth when measured from sea level. That's the measurement we all know. But there's another way to measure a mountain. And when you measure from the center of the Earth, when you account for the planet's equatorial bulge, Everest isn't the tallest anymore. That title goes to a mountain in Ecuador, a volcano actually, Chimborazo. At 6,263 meters above sea level, Chimborazo isn't even the tallest mountain in the Andes, but because it sits almost directly on the equator, where the Earth bulges outward, its summit is the farthest point from the center of the Earth, about 2,168 meters farther than Everest's summit. Now this isn't a technicality, this is geometry. If Everest feels like climbing into the sky, Chimborazo feels like stepping off the world entirely. Because if you're standing on the summit of Chimborazo, you are, quite literally, closer to space than anyone standing on Everest. You're farther from the Earth's core. You're at the highest point on the planet, depending on how you measure. And that's the thing about mountains, the thing that makes them so fascinating and so dangerous and so deeply human. We measure them, we rank them, we try to conquer them. But the mountain doesn't care about the list. It doesn't care if you're on Everest or Elbrus or Kilimanjaro. It just exists, and it waits, and it tests you in ways you can't prepare for. So, yeah, 7 continents, 7 summits, and one of them, depending on how you look at it, isn't what you think. As the camera pulls back now, you're seeing the whole planet, all 7 continents, all 7 mountains. Every summit, every storm, every close call, it rewires something in you. And maybe that's why we keep going back. Not to stand on top of the world, but to see who we become getting there. Because that's what mountains do. They strip everything away, and they leave you with one question. Do you keep going, or do you turn around? If you made it this far, thank you for watching. Next time we're going somewhere even colder, somewhere even more remote, somewhere most people will never see. Until then, stay curious.